The adrenaline for me rushes up sometimes, like if, for example, on Megatron, this is another big Transformer piece I made.
Yeah.
I can still remember the feeling. I had built these two big old legs, and each leg had like 1,000 pieces in it.
Whoa.
Yeah, each foot had about 210 or 20 pieces in each foot.
That's crazy.
They had like chain link, tank tread feet, shoes or whatever, and every chain link. Anyway, I had these two really intricate legs that each of them was several weeks, or the pair of them was a few weeks working on. And then I had the upper body torso part, and that was all worked out. And so when it came time to like stick the legs on, that's things like that are where like the adrenaline gets rushing, because you've got to get it to do right here. But then after that, we're just standing back and putting a little here, putting a little there. The rest of the journey is pretty smooth.
Welcome to the Robertson Stash. Season 5 is brought to you by WNC CBD. Empowered by Puffco.
What's up, Banjo? How you doing, brother?
What's up, Matt? I'm good, man. How are you doing today?
Good. It's so good to see you, man.
It's great to be here.
Stoked you're here. I remember you were one of the first people encouraging me when I first started this podcast, dude. Back in the day, I think I was like on episode 1 or 2 or something, and you were giving me some encouragement when you were here last. But now you're finally on the pod, so I really appreciate that.
Man, it's been awesome to see what you've done. It's hard to believe that was that long ago, and that you've...
It was like a couple of years ago when you were here for that class at Dream Lab, or Joe Peters,
Yeah, amazing.
So how you been, man?
I've been great.
What's new with you?
Just crushing away as usual, man.
Yeah?
I guess, this last year I celebrated my 25th anniversary on the torch.
A quarter century. Holy shit. That's wild.
It seems like it was just yesterday.
That's wild.
I was just talking to your intern about, how long he's been working and what's going on. And he asked me how long I've been working, and I told him, and then I had the thought, man, I just thought back to like the first day I was on the torch.
Yeah, he wasn't even conceived yet.
No. And what occurred to me was like, man, that felt like it was yesterday. Like it go fast. So I was telling him,
yeah,
they're enjoying
25 years. That's wild.
It was like yesterday when I first started melting. That's what it feels like.
Crazy, man. So you're here in town for the Psychedelic Conference, right?
Yeah.
Is that you're doing a show with some pieces involved in the gallery there?
Yeah, my friend Jen with Tribe 13 is setting up a gallery there.
Sweet.
And it's like a psychedelic convention, so there's lots of talks and scientists and just different stuff about kind of the state of the movement.
Awesome.
Kind of on the mainstreaming of it all.
Yeah.
So Denver being...
Like you go there, get some information about it.
I think that's what's going on there. I think people are celebrating, and there's shows every night and stuff going on around town. But it's definitely it'll be interesting. I've not attended one before. So, we're going to be in the little art area. So
cool.
That'll be interesting.
And the hard opening's Wednesday night.
Yeah, I think Wednesday.
Or Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I think the
I want to
goes
go
on
check that out
each day. Yeah, throughout the day.
That's sick, man. So for people that don't know, I mean, you're one of the most influential artists in the pipe industry, and you've been a big inspiration to me over the years. I mean, that one class in Colorado at Glasscraft, rest in peace. Mm-hmm. That one really changed my life, really, because I started sculpting differently, and I was kind of doing things backwards up until then. But I mean, even the simplest things like ripping open a blow tube, I learned that at that class when I saw you do that, but now it's like an everyday thing. But, can you give us a little backstory on you? Like, where'd you grow up? And like, when did you first get into glass?
I was born in Michigan, Western Michigan. And so my dad is a dairy farmer.
Okay.
And my mom is a school teacher. She taught special ed. So they split up when I was a kid, and we moved down to Southern Michigan, and very industrial kind of, auto industry type. Yeah. So I grew up going back and forth between the country and the farm, visiting my family.
Were you milking cows?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all that. Baling hay, driving tractors. But like, really, I grew up mainly in the city. I grew up with my mom and went to school, in a...
What year was that? It was...
What year I was born was 76. So
like 80s you're talking in Detroit? What was Detroit like back then?
Well, I was about an hour down the highway. And so we weren't in the inner city, but we were in a very industrialized little factory town. And so, it was typical
good
working
times,
class.
Or was it kind of like...
No, it was good. It was good times. It was a rough edge. It wasn't a very, well-to-do community, but was tight knit. It was small enough.
Detroit at one point was like the top-notch spot to live.
Yeah,
right?
murder capital, world, all that stuff.
Well, no, it was the elite. Like it was high society at one point, and now it's kind of become. But now the artists are moving back in, and it's becoming more
it's
gentrified.
Funny how it cycles like that. I mean, in the 80s, it was when I was growing up, we really were seeing sort of the downturn, and then by the 90s, all the auto industries falling apart, all that stuff. So like, I got to see a little bit of kind of when it was still, booming and abundant, kind of as a younger kid. But as I got older and into high school and college, it's definitely the descent was already happening. So I dipped out of, I went to college in Siena Heights University and
that's in
got
Michigan?
into art. Yeah, it's in just south of Detroit.
Okay.
And I got into art pretty soon into my college career. And so after a couple of years of that, I ended up dipping and going out west. And so in that decade, following, like throughout the 2000s was really when I think Detroit and the whole thing just shit the bed.
Yeah.
And so, we started coming back there for the Michigan project.
I went to the first one out there.
Oh, wow, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we saw blood on the sidewalk, and it was spray painted beside it. It was like, "Welcome to Detroit. This is blood."
Yeah. I mean, I grew up going over there. And, I never got into any kind of scary situations.
Yeah.
But, it's
because if you know.
By the time the Michigan project was going on and we're all going there, Detroit had already been vacated. And so a lot of the meat was off the bone. And I think a lot of the kind of criminal elements were honestly diminished because there just wasn't anything around.
That makes sense.
And so like what
the
you
artists
did
start
see was a
moving
lot
in, getting
more
buildings for cheap,
a lot just kind of, community gardens and stuff, and, a lot of sort of rooftop garden and taking over blocks and kind of rewilding and getting things growing and stuff. So in a big way, I think even, in a place that's known to be so run down and, poverty stricken, it's like, and those situations also provide opportunity for fresh growth and like
totally, it's like a cycle. It happens a lot.
Coming in, it's cool. I love Detroit. I love visiting there, and it's still a vibe.
Awesome. So when did you get into glass? Like, how did that happen? You were into art. You went to school.
I went to school I started in pre-vet medicine and then just like flunked out immediately.
That wasn't for you.
Right. And so I came from a kind of ghetto town and was, serving weed and different stuff because I had connections, to all the art school kids at this college I just started going to. And then I started realizing right away, like, whoa, these guys are just hanging out behind the art studio, drinking beer, making welding stuff, doing pots, just living the life, And so I just switched my major over to art. And then that's, I had been artistic growing up. My mom's an artist, and I'd always been supported in creative endeavors and things, but just never really fancied myself an artiste, so to speak, So found myself in school there, going to art classes, just doing the bare minimum really to stay in school. I didn't have a big plan to do anything with my life. I just kind of came out of a normal,
What kind of stuff were you making? Like what mediums were you working with back then?
All the stuff you start out with, 2 and 3D design, color theory, figure drawing,
art history.
Ceramics one. Art history actually was the first thing that I majored in. I initially majored in art history, and sculpture. And then I dropped the art history and went to just sculpture and photography. But so I just was doing the basic things that they put you through in a normal liberal arts kind of education for art school, whatever,
The fundamentals.
All the fundamentals, right. And then, but I still was just kind of doing the bare minimum. I kind of like annoyed, I think, my teachers and professors. They could see me. I'm just like dreadlocked, partying, doing acid all night, coming to the class just half asleep and like sleeping on the bench while the instructor's teaching how to do like Lost West casting and stuff. And so I'm just, we had a real contentious relationship, me and this one professor, and eventually, like so fast forward to my third year in college, and where I just been kind of coasting, getting by. Third year in college, I'd started refinishing this old heavy metal guitar that I had, and like trying to restore it. It was this hunk of junk I had bought from a friend in high school, but my sculpture professor had used to make guitars and banjos.
Oh, really?
And fiddles and mandolins and everything.
No way.
And, he did traditional stuff, like the actual way you do it.
Like hollow body stuff too?
Everything.
Oh, wow.
Hollow bodies, banjos, fiddles, like all of it, And he would, and also he was just an insane sculptor. He was like an old Harley dude, he used to, like before Jesse James doing all this custom bike stuff.
Oh, really?
He was one of these guys that would go like restore bikes, and like he was just a total madman. Like he could do anything. He's still probably my greatest mentor for art, even though he never did glass. But anyway, like, he was helping me refinish this thing. And then one day he's just like, you should just get rid of this and just make one. And I thought, okay. And so he coached me and mentored me
from scratch
to make hollow or solid body electric guitars. And so I got into that, and like right away I found myself at class. I found myself all night in the studio, just like the other art school students would all be just there all night doing their projects.
Nice.
This is the first time I've been in art school, so to speak, for a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
You know, and I just treated it just like school. Like, oh, fuck that, go to this class
you
for a
found
second,
like a
do the bare
new
minimum.
passion.
As soon as I started building those guitars, it just dawned on me like how much I loved the process.
So that was like a wood class then, right?
Yeah, it was
mainly.
This sculpture professor had everything in that.
Okay,
like,
you could kind of try every medium in there, welding, all that.
Welding, you know, he had mills in there that he was, you know, like
that's cool.
So much stuff. But about a year later, it would have been into my senior year. Or no, I guess it would have been later in the junior year. He also was talking about these banjos all the time. And I'm like a kind of a heavy metal. I grew up with like heavy metal and ghetto rap and just typical, you know, that kind of stuff music wise. But I was just kind of getting on to like the Grateful Dead and sort of more rootsy type stuff. And then I was finding out that the Dead was like, Jerry particularly was like a huge bluegrass fan and played banjo. Mm-hmm. So that sparked my interest in the banjo initially. And knowing that he used to make them and that I'd made a couple guitars, I was like, I'm gonna make a banjo. I'd never played one or even held one. You know, he had some instruments around the shop here and there in a closet or whatever. He'd pull out and show us, and they're just ornately inlaid, tree of life up the headstock. Wow. Beautiful, you know, beautiful works of art, really. Wow. And so that inspired me, and I started making banjo, and I made the whole thing. I did like a phases of the moon inlay kind of thing
up the fretboard.
Up the fretboard, yeah.
What was the fretboard made of?
That one I used ebony.
Ebony,
which is probably the hardest thing you can use. Yeah, and you know, the rest of it was made from maple and mahogany and
what's the bot? They're not like wood bodies, right?
Yeah. The pot.
Is there?
It's called the pot. It's like a drum. It's very much a drum.
A drum.
Like typically, your drum is like a foot tall, maybe like a snare. And you know, what is it, like a 1/4 inch thick wood or something, maybe, or less?
Yeah.
So a banjo rim, and then it has a head tightened over the top.
And it's got skin as the surface.
Banjo's
right?
set up the exact same way. It's just that the pot is like a couple inches thick. It's about 12 to 11 inches around, but it has a skin pulled over the top, and then there's a neck attached, and then the strings go across, and there's a bridge.
And the bridge goes all the way to the end of the
tail piece is at the very end, but just like on a guitar, what you call the bridge right there by the sound hole, where the strings actually go up over the saddle. That's this little movable piece you can just you drop into the center of the drum head of the banjo, and then the strings rest over that. So the resonation, you know, resonates from there.
Yeah, you actually brought one with you here, right?
Yeah.
Is that one that's the one you made?
Yeah.
Wow, is that the first one you made?
That might have been the third or fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I made a couple by then, but
shit, we'll have to bust that out.
Yeah,
maybe you can play us a little lick on our way out when we're finishing up.
Yeah.
Play us out.
Maybe we'll play a song together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that really, you know, I realized years later that engagement with that particular process and making instruments and making them beautiful. I would do like
that's important,
carving
like
on the
that
heel.
Passion to find something.
Yeah, I'd never had it before. I just liked art well enough that, you know, I can do it. I like designing things, but I didn't really have like a message or I want to express this thing with my art. Anything like that, where a lot of my friends and fellow art students were kind of that type of mindset. But once I jumped into those banjos and got all crazy and I became that teacher who had been such a hard relationship with, we became best buds.
That's awesome.
And then he became my my advisor, you know, and so he mentored me for a couple years, and then
how many did you make?
While in school, I think I made four. Two electrics, and then 2 electric guitars and 4 banjos.
Oh, and 4 banjos.
Yeah,
okay.
And then midway through my senior year, I had started going to rainbow gatherings and hippie events and traveling and just doing all kinds of wook shit. And there was a rainbow gathering out on the West Coast that year, 97, in Oregon. And so I dropped out of school and took this banjo with me that I had just made and didn't even know how to play. And I just went traveling, hitchhiking with it. And
really, you didn't know how to play these?
I couldn't do anything.
You made them to like expert level?
This is the first one. So I went on this big journey. Then I came back and made a couple more.
Okay.
One other semester I came back through one time. But at this point I had just made the one banjo, didn't know how to play it. Went on the road traveling, you know, and then just running into people. They'd go, hey, banjo guy, the banjo. And so I just, you know how everybody's got their road name out on the
that's where it came from.
Circuit.
Traveling with the banjo.
I just started saying, I'm Banjo. And so it was like, what's your name? I'm Banjo.
That's wild.
I mean, there's Wingnut and Road Dog and Possum Sphincter and like all the different, you know, like.
So, Banjo's a pretty good one.
Banjo, yeah. And when and so a couple years later in 99, when I got onto Glass, you know, I mean, yeah, Snodgrass and, you know, my heroes were all Jason Lee, Marcel, Clinton, Pedro, Ezra, which most of those names are somewhat
They're all organ crew, right?
Yeah, at that time for sure. But anyway, it just became I was like, I'll be Banjo Glass. You know, I'm already known as Banjo. It's already my nickname throughout the
Did you use like an alias because of like pipe dreams, or was because it was illegal?
Pipe dreams wasn't yet, but yes,
but it was still illegal. You didn't want to use your real name, right? Because it's a pipe. Yeah. Yeah, those were the days back then.
Yeah.
Pre-Operation Pipe Dreams.
Yep. This had been a couple years prior to that.
Wow. So you're making banjos, you're traveling. Were you like trying to pitch these banjos? Were you selling them? Were you like at these rainbow gatherings?
At that point, all I was thinking about was playing music and connecting with people and just doing psychedelic travel.
Wasn't really a career path in your mind to be a banjo maker?
In the back of my mind, probably. It was, you know, rolling around that at some point I need to do something to make money besides like smuggle and trap and shit. Like, and I was a low level trapper. Let me make that clear. You know, I was like, scrounge up to
FBI.
get
We're clearing that up.
Yeah, I would like scrounge up to get like a half ounce and sell it out in grams on the street. At the point in
I think
time,
a lot of us started that way. That's how I learned like business and marketing and
same
at an early age.
Same.
Yep.
So yeah, you know, Glass at that point was sort of just like an extension of like the Grateful Dead scene or the Fish scene or the sort of hippie traveling nugs, all that. It was like an extension of it. It hadn't really gained its feet.
So you weren't into glass, but you were going to these gatherings and you were seeing glass on the lots and like kind of know some of the artists a little bit.
A little bit. You know, you'd run into someone, you know, maybe we'd drag a couple K-tanks off into the forest and do a little demo and be working in the middle of this fest. So I kind of peripherally saw it here and there. It didn't really engage me much yet during my traveling time. And I was mainly, you know, I was going to all these different events and stuff, hippie events, kind of dead-oriented stuff. This is right in the wake of the Dead. So Jerry had died just a couple years before that. And that whole, you know, it's like it kind of split. That whole group of people that was touring and traveling with the Dead, like, some of them were too old to like, you know, some of them just were like, okay, we're going to go settle and just chill. And so a lot of them kind of moved up into the Pacific Northwest and settled there. And then the younger folks kind of went off and did Fish and started doing that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So like, you know,
it's interesting time.
Yeah.
Like everyone's so used to doing it, and then he dies, and then
and I just missed it. So I came into all this world right in the wake of that is how I think of it, because there was a big wake still. You know, there was tons of people still being carried along by what that original, you know, experience had really done, the waves that it made. But so yeah, when I found Glass, like I said, I wasn't super engaged. I was just seeing kind of little color changing pipes and stuff around. But when I landed in Corvallis, after traveling a bunch, I wound up there. I had a friend that lived there, so I went to go stay there for a minute. And this friend's social circle were these guys named Jason Lee, Marcel, Clinton, Pedro, Ezra.
Legends, yeah.
Just these guys that were really what would become like the big dogs, like the innovators of the modern heady scene, you know, and they were building off things, of course, that the Snodgrass crew had done. But that was what I saw that I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like I met Clinton and we were playing music. I just sort of was involved in that social circle, and I'm kind of trapping a little bit. So I'm the guy that's buying a pipe from these guys and trying to save up and get a couple and maybe fly back to Michigan with a little case of, you know, Clinton hammers that are $100 to $200.
So you were buying them. Were you interested in making them at that point, or not really?
Not yet. Nope, I hadn't been. Not yet. Not at all. I was still I was, you know, I started making banjos again when I settled in Corvallis. After all this traveling, and by then I'm like, I'm Banjo. I play the banjo. So I jumped into the Oregon, the OSU Craft Center, got a little membership, and just started making more banjos. So at the time I met Clinton, I was like, and all of those guys, I was actively a banjo maker, and that's all I was thinking about. And so, you know, found out I was having a kid. And was like, okay, I got to figure something out. And so that's when, you know.
Were they progressively getting better? Like all these banjos?
Yeah.
Or were you using like a template and going from one? Were they all the exact same?
They were pretty similar. Yeah. I used blueprints from what's called a Gibson Mastertone. So Gibson's a company that very famous banjos. Back in the day, it was the Banjo.
The Banjo, pre-war.
Period. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Pre-war Gibsons. And so that blueprint from that pre-war Gibson was what I used to build mine.
Oh, wow.
And so my necks.
So what year? That's early then.
Yeah, those would have been 20s, 30s, 40s. You know? And so the necks I made, I did tend to take them a little slimmer, you know?
Oh, really?
They would be just a little slimmer for whatever reason. I didn't think about it. I just noticed after a while that
They weren't to spec exactly.
They were skinned down just a little bit. I mean, the scale length and everything was exactly the same.
And then like you put inlays, your own kind of like inlays and stuff.
Oh yeah, all that would just be designed myself. And the headstock, I actually have that's like the headstock that I designed, which is cool. It's similar to a Gibson Master Tone, but if you get in there and look, it's there's some little angles and shapes.
It's like a Stratocaster with a G&L.
Yeah,
like very similar.
Yeah,
but there's a couple.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
To go from that, but you asked how it went from banjos to glass, and so I was while making these banjos in the craft center, I had this day job just doing landscaping around Corvallis with this guy, and this other employee that I was working with under this landscaper dude, he had gone to school with a kid named Levi Beard, and Levi had learned to blow glass. No, not
couldn't
yet.
grow a beard. Poor kid.
Yeah.
No matter how hard he tried,
he could probably grow one now. He was only a teenager, I was anyway.
He's in his 60s now, or no, I guess 40s.
I'm not even.
No. Okay, yeah.
But yeah, he
40s.
This guy Adam basically saw me toiling every night. He knew I was leaving work, and then I would go and like work on banjos every night. And just something in him told him that this guy should be doing creative stuff and not wasting his time with this ex-crackhead landscaper guy that is paying me minimum wage. But it's like I had a kid, I had a 6-month-old baby, and we're barely making it. We're just okay. I'll work for this guy and do that. And I also was still kind of trapping a little bit on the side. But anyways, that group of people, Jason, Marcel, Ezra, Pedro, all those guys, Clinton, Chris Dawson, they were all in Corvallis making pipes and just
paying the bills. That was making a living.
Oh yeah. At the point when I started, living. I remember like the story was I was friends with this girl, Teresa, and she had been up north with Marcel and all them, and she was like, yeah, Marcel pretty much just makes like $1,000 headpiece a week. And that's all that those guys do anymore. They don't fuck with little shit anymore. They just make like $1,000 piece a week. Wow. And we're all just like, whoa, like that is the goal. And so, that was just starting to pop off.
That was worth a lot more of that back then too, $1,000 a week.
Yeah. I mean,
that's amazing.
50 grand a year is a 20-year-old, 22, 23, however old, most of these guys are all around my age, I was like, okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
So that's what brought it on, brought my awareness to this kid I worked with.
How much money they said they made, that was when you're like, okay, maybe I can get into glass a little bit?
It was right after I got in.
Okay.
But we heard that, and so that, that was like
encouraging
what became the thing. But this kid Levi basically, back to Adam, who I was working with at the landscaping job.
He put you in touch with?
He introduced me to Levi and brought me over to his shop. And she brings me over to this little 6x8 horse shed that his parents had let him, where the horse used to stick his head out to eat the grain. The parents let him stick a little box fan in the window. He had a little 6-foot wide bench with 2 stations on it.
Yeah.
And he was like, pay my oxygen fees and pay my back bill, because he had like a $300 or $400 bill in his dad's account. And I'll show you what I know. And so this is 99, early 99.
Wow.
And so I went in there, and I could tell within a few minutes that I really loved it and was going to do it and stick with it. So
wow.
And he had learned, I basically became the beneficiary of all the things
extra bench space there.
Yeah, there was one extra. There was 2. He had 2 mid ranges set up, and one of them belonged to this guy that apparently had worked there and then disappeared, and he hadn't seen him in months.
Perfect.
So he was just like, you can just have that guy's torch and work on it. He ended up selling it to me for $100, and
nice.
I ended up selling it to my first apprentice. I mean, that little mid-range made its round. So.
Dude, so many people got their starts on Nortels, man.
Yeah,
that was a good starter torch.
It was perfect. Sure. I rolled that for a while. He had a little miniature torch under it, a Victor welding torch, or a brazing torch. It had a tiny little flame, and he had that piggybacked underneath his mid-range, so he'd have a little 9
clamped on or something.
Yeah, but loosely enough that he could pull it out and have a hand torch. So. For
hand torch in 99?
Glassblowing, yeah.
Yeah. Did you forever have a hand torch after that?
Yeah. Chris Dawson came through like a year later, and he had like 10 Smith mini torches. And he just like started selling them to all of us. So we all got little mini torches right after that.
I went so long without a hand torch, and I think I learned the hand torch technique at your class in Glasscraft 15 years ago or
How
whatever.
long had you been working at that point?
I mean, I'm 22 years in, so that's probably... the first 4 years of my career, I was not really flame working. I was soft glass. And then 3 years I was doing flame working. So, 7 years in, I wouldn't really have a hand torch.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out how to weld those little, crevices and stuff.
I'll tell you what, that reminds me. There was a period where I think it may have been from about, maybe it was 05, 06, somewhere in there. But those tubes go on those things. on hand torch. They get burnt. Eventually, your hoses are just short. You can't. So I had this one that just went out of commission, and I actually somehow managed for like a good year without replacing it. So I had 1 year, if you can believe this.
Wow.
I had 1 year around 05, 06 or so.
Did you have a GTT?
No, I had a Herbie.
Oh, okay.
So it's got
a
nice little flame, but still it's this big monster of a torch. But like,
it's the gravity.
I made Grievous without a hand torch.
Wow. What's Grievous?
General Grievous was a big robot sculpture that I made. It's like a Star Wars character.
Oh, yeah.
With some light. It was like a pretty good sized piece, fairly intricate. And I just remember because there was some little thing I couldn't quite reach.
Cool.
And I
want to pull a picture up because to make that without a hand torch, that's kind of crazy.
And it's just, I don't know what I was thinking. I just didn't get another one, and I just made it work.
Made it work, yeah.
But then I remember toward the end of finishing that piece, I had to call up Yush, who lived about a mile down the road. And I was like, dude, I got this little spot I can't reach. Can I come over with this piece? And then I went over there and did it. I was like, what the fuck have I been doing?
Yeah, I
got a new hand torch or new hoses that week.
Took you a few extra hours.
But everything I made for that year. I mean, this is not probably too interesting to non-glass people, but like,
dude, that just reminded me of your like Optimus Prime piece. That was an epic piece too. When that came out, that was just like something I've never seen before. That scale, that size, like. That was an epic piece. Did you do a series of Transformers?
Yeah, and that was that wasn't the first one. I did a few of them. The first was a Bumblebee.
A Bumblebee?
Yep, and then I made that with help from Ari, Bluegrass Glass.
Oh, really?
Under Hitman at the time. Because the Bumblebee had a butane torch.
Oh, they had the torch
on the
tubes,
shoulder. Yeah, and then
Ari was the man for that. Yeah,
holding the nail, so you could turn the torch on and it would just heat the nail, and the mouthpiece was
sick.
In the other hand. So you'd hit the mouthpiece here, and then the joint and the male joint with a nail at that point.
Yeah.
So that.
Would you ever put a sex change on these things, or are they just male joints for always now?
Yeah. The thing is, I'm kind of, that period of time, I was really making pretty long, drawn out pieces. So whereas like someone who maybe is bread and butter is like making like a bunch of rigs this week and next week, and maybe put out like 60 rigs this year, there's all those possible sex changes.
Yeah.
Where for me, I was at a point where I was making like those pieces were taking me a month or two.
Wow.
And so it would only be like a couple, 3, 4 pieces a year, 5 pieces or something that would have a joint. And they were so crazy and big that I guess nobody ever asked me to switch one out.
Now,
right.
Sometimes I get messages now, but how do you hold your focus for like a month on a piece like that? Like what? That's just insane.
It just started out by holding your focus on a piece for 6 hours instead of 1 hour.
Yeah.
However that goes.
Okay. So you just kind of push it each time.
Adding on. You don't really think about it. You're thinking about the project and what, you're not really, you don't think about how am I going to stay engaged, because you're already engaged actually with what you're trying to figure out and make over the time.
Do you feel like the pressure when you're trying to complete a piece like that after you spend a month on it? Like, is there a moment where it all could just break or not really anymore? The way you create them, they're all,
the way
you
might
get a little check and you can fix it.
Which that happens throughout every project for most glass blowers. There's always little something's going on, and you're just kind of chasing things and making sure that you're ahead of it the whole time. But by the time that those things are getting finished, there were way higher intensity, more stressful moves and things that happened like way earlier in their creation.
Oh, really?
Usually, by the time you get that close to the finish line, it's just sort of dotting I's and crossing T's.
You don't have like a massive adrenaline rush when you're putting that away at night?
No, it's been a while.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a while. The adrenaline for me rushes up sometimes, like if there's like, say, I don't know, for example, on Megatron, this is another big Transformer piece I made 15 years ago probably, but like,
wow.
I can still remember the feeling that, I had built these 2 big old legs, and each leg had like 1,000 pieces in it.
Whoa.
Yeah, each foot had about 210 or 20 pieces in each foot.
That's crazy.
They had like chain link, tank tread feet, shoes or whatever, and every chain link and every little thing on it, bolt, whatever. But anyway, I had these 2 really intricate legs that each of them was several weeks, or the pair of them was a few weeks working on. And then I had the upper body torso part, and that was all worked out. And so when it came time to like stick the legs on, that's things like that are where like the adrenaline gets rushing, because you've got to get it to do right here. But then after that, we're just standing back and putting a little here, we're putting a little there. The rest of the journey is pretty smooth. So
do you have any tips for like when you attach it like that? Like, do you struggle to get like the landing point on point, or sometimes that is a struggle for me personally.
It was for
and the
me.
more I think about it, the more, because I heard some advice from a teacher, the less you think about it, you just instinctually go for it sometimes. And
it's like playing pool. Like, go for your first shot, you see it, hit it.
It is a lot like
your
pool.
subconscious mind puts together those patterns instantly.
Yeah.
But then your conscious mind steps in and it sends your conscious mind to the showers. And it starts doing the bossing around. Hey, you sure about?
Yeah.
You're gonna stick it right there. Oh, watch it.
Overthink it a bit. It is a lot like pool. That's a great analogy.
Step back from it a minute and get back into the. I had a situation
one shot.
last year. Joe P and I were teaching a class in Vermont, and it got to a point where we had a big old sculpture, and we had to stick this other little, big sculpture honeycombs to the side of the piece. And it was all bridged up and ready to go. All we had to do was just dab in a little bit of clear. Very standard, not even a hard thing, but like something in the moment, like everybody's focus was on it. It was a big move, and I couldn't keep my hand steady, and it just tripped me out. I was like telling people, "I was like, this has not usually happened to me in my own space alone or in front of people," but it was just like I couldn't quite do it.
What do you think it was? Coffee?
Overthinking. Coffee's part of it. My friend Yano had just delivered me a huge dab. I mean, many factors, but still, it was like I was incapable. I had to stick it in the kiln.
Wow.
And then pull it back out. I was like, okay, guys, I think I'm good. I'm going to try it again. And then it's still, okay, hold on. Got to get out of my own way. But it took a few runs. And Joey walks in. And I was like, Joey, would you just stick some stuff right there? He's like, yeah, man. Sticks it. So I was like, all right. But it still happens,
Do you control your breathing at all? Like sometimes when I'm doing dots, I'll hold my breath and like.
Yeah. I think subconsciously. But in that moment, if I would have thought about doing some breathing and centering like that, I may have gotten through it a little easier.
Yeah.
I think I just waited for the dab and the caffeine to wear off, and I was having Joey stick these things for a minute, and then
that could be
back to normal. But
strong coffees, I'll do that.
Yeah.
You know what's worse than stale weed? Running into your neighbors at the dispensary when you're just trying to re-up in peace. WNC CBD keeps it discreet. Orders are shipped with a humidity pack so your flowers arrive fresh, and it shows up to your door like Amazon Prime for stoners. New strains drop every week, and I'll be reviewing them right here on the show. Go to WNC-CBD.com and use code STASH25 for 25% off of your order, and keep your sesh private. This episode is brought to you by Puffco. Whether you're pulling late nights in the studio or sitting at home in your sweatpants watching cartoons, Puffco keeps your hits clean, tasty, and terp heavy. As a glassblower, I can say this: they nailed the science and they left the art up to us. Tap in with Puffco and elevate your ritual without ever lighting up.
Well, hey, do you want to have a little weed smoke session while we're halfway through this pod? We got some Chronic from our new sponsor, WNC CBD, dude. This is some fire here. I got some Jack Harrell in one of these, and we got some Mango Mojito Hydro. So I got these rolled up. Do you want to just go with these right now? Maybe we'll roll another strain up. This one's the Jack Harrell, and that's the Mango.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, dude. Let's test these out. But yeah, so dude, we're here. We're crushing out a sick Devi right now. I'm so excited about this. We haven't worked together probably for, a
good decade.
It must be, yeah, like 2013, 12 or something.
Is that when you came through Humboldt?
Or maybe it was a bit after that.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 2015. So it must have been.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, probably around 2015.
It had been a decade ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great work sesh. I got to collab with Ari and DeLong, and we made some sick lamps, and you and me made some nice goat stuff.
Yeah. And we have
awesome.
What's funny, you might not remember this, but I just pulled it out of a box the other day. But I have a cow. I have a Holstein Friesian cow.
Oh, yeah.
Pipe that we made, but it broke.
Oh, yeah.
But like I have the whole head,
one.
and so I should have brought it.
You were the one that told me that the Holsteins are the black and white with the horns, and they have others too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes. That's
people were calling them hermaphrodites because they, the others in the horns, but they're actually out there, right?
All cows have horns, female and male.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not like deer.
No. Oh, really?
Yeah, they're. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you ever heard of you've heard of Herefords, H-E-R-E.
Herefords, like a heifer or Hereford?
A heifer is a female cow that hasn't hasn't had a calf yet.
Oh, okay.
So young, adolescent or young female cow. A Hereford is a breed, and so you've seen them. They're dark red and white, like classic beef cow that you see out.
Okay, yeah.
And so there's also what's called polled Herefords, Polled, polled Herefords, and they're bred like they don't have horns.
Oh, really?
But that's like the whole.
Why don't they have horns? Are they bred that way?
Maybe intentionally, or I don't know. But in that case, males and females, I don't think have horns. But your typical cows, like all of the ones you see, females have horns too.
And then the Texas Longhorns, where their horns are like
crazy.
10 feet long.
There's a bunch of those down by where I live.
Is there?
I've never seen them in person until we moved there, but it's.
Have you seen them in person
crazy.
now?
Oh yeah, we're on the way to the store every day.
Oh wow.
Dude, they're like
each horn.
Like I would say each
or the
horn,
whole span.
The ones I see, each horn's got to be 3 feet long, like 3 or 4.
Wow.
They look like they must. It's just
badass.
like Boss Hogg's car on Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah,
it's like as wide as a Cadillac.
Car. Yeah. What are those cows used for?
Beef.
Oh, they are Longhorns. Oh, okay.
Yeah, everything's beef.
Wow.
Yeah,
interesting.
The only dairy you really see, like the black and white ones, those are the Holsteins. That's always dairy. And then there's this other breed, Herefords, or Jerseys. I'm sorry, Jerseys. And Jerseys are like, you ever seen them? They're smallish and kind of tan, kind of cute. They're just smaller.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
They're
those two are the most
me,
common dairy cows.
Except those like real muscly, jacked up ones. Have you seen those cows? Those are beavers. Yeah. Sick.
I love cows. What an amazing.
They are. Animal. They're worshipped in other countries, aren't they? Like gods, like India. Maybe?
Yeah, India. It's pretty fascinating. Like astrologically, the Taurus. I'm a Taurus.
Are you?
And so that's
the bull.
That's the bull. Yeah. But actually, it's I think they consider it to be like a feminine archetype.
Really?
Like it's more of a mother cow is the vibe. But those early cultures that venerated the cow, that like astrologically, if you look at like the world ages, like they have it split up. Every 26,000 years you go through this cycle or whatever, and every 20-some hundred years a new. Different astrological age passes through,
and we are in the age of Sagittarius right now. Aquarius.
We're just according to we're either just got there or just about to, or
we're
in the
age
process.
Of Aquarius,
and we're coming from Pisces.
Okay.
So the last 2,000 years, this was Pisces. And so if you look at all the archetypical symbology around Pisces, you got fish and water.
Yeah.
You got the school of fish. Jesus stuff like with the fish.
The Jesus fish. Is that?
All that stuff, and water represents the unconscious.
The last 2,000 years, because that was very influential.
Right, and so you see the fish bumper stickers. And
I see that.
He must be his fisherman. I mean, our whole culture.
And Fish, the band, kinda, I guess, right?
The final chapter.
So is everything going to change to kind of Aquarius themed?
I don't know.
Influence.
They're interesting concepts.
What is the age of Aquarius? Because there's a movie about that.
Aquarius is the water bearer. Is what the glyph is. And if
the water bearer?
Yeah, water bearer.
Oh, okay.
And so the glyph is a guy like pouring water out.
Okay.
It's an air sign, but it refers to like the age of Aquarius is supposedly like the age of information, electricity, community,
fitting.
Brotherhood of man is a concept. Everybody's going to get along. Like,
wow.
And in the age of Pisces, according to these thought systems or whatever, like the Piscean thing was follow the leader, the school of fish, like Jesus, the teacher, and everybody's kind of offshoring their personal authority over to the expert, right? The priest, the teacher, the expert thing, right? So age of Aquarius, that supposedly. It switches. Energy comes, or intelligence or wisdom comes from above to everybody equally, according to
I'm on that kick right now, dude. Right. Getting downloads from Source when I meditate.
Dude,
Do you know?
That's why we do it, right?
In your crown chakra.
It's where it comes in through according to this thing. And
white, bright.
I like it, Matt. We going Wookiee on it?
I love it, dude. I think it's really helpful.
Well, back to wrap up that cow thing and how I even started, wandering about astrology. Like if you look at that, so you go back before Aquarius. And so the thing goes backwards. And so like right now we're in Aquarius. We go backwards into Pisces, and before Pisces we had Aries, right?
Okay.
And so Aries would have been the ram. And so when you look at like the ram's heads at the gates of Ishtar and all this archaeological stuff, where there was a whole period of a couple thousand years where all of the art was venerating rams.
Really?
Yeah, and like the sacrifice of the ram in the biblical stories.
So when you look at a timeline and you look at that, you can see the theme
right
of
over it. Yes.
the astrology.
Yes, and
that's
interesting. Aries is a fire sign.
Okay.
And so right around that period of time, those 2,000 years, is when we were really ramping up and figuring out like metallurgy and kilns and brick making and all kinds of stuff. So like fire and
so would that be like that would be like
cultures are like starting to beat ram together in kind of different civilizations.
2,000 years ago. So like right at the beginning of like the before
2,000 years ago-ish would have been the end of the
BC.
Age of Aries.
Yeah,
2000 BC until 0 would have been Aries. And so
and what was before that?
Taurus.
Do you know? Oh, Taurus.
And so the Taurus energy being before that, that's why the cows are venerated in that area, because the yogic, the Hindu culture
way
is
a long time ago. Ooh,
written
that's
stuff.
very interesting.
And so that was the age of Taurus.
Yeah.
And so
and was there anything before that, or that was pretty early?
Before Taurus would have been Gemini. And so chronologically, at that point, we hadn't yet emerged out of like, kind of hunter-gathery stuff.
Yeah.
We hadn't quite gotten to civilizational things. So Age of
Didn't really
Taurus,
understand that.
On the timeline, if you're just looking at the standard Wikipedia accepted archaeological record, the Age of Taurus would have been when all of these, cultures were really emerging.
That's so interesting.
Even like think about the Minotaur, even over on the island of Crete. There's bull iconography there. Go to Egypt. There's tons of bull stuff all over the place. Like the Minoan bull cults,
That's so we're gonna see a lot of water bears this coming up.
I mean, according
do you know
to
what a tardigrade is?
Yeah,
that's a water bear.
Yeah,
but it's like it can withstand anything. It lives in zero gravity. It lives in tardigrades. Yeah, water bear.
Yeah,
water bear. I don't
Probably
know.
some links there that you and I are not capable of making,
the same
but
word.
I think I can see the dots.
Water bear,
water bear. Yeah.
Tough.
Word language.
Resilience.
Word magic.
But yeah, that's interesting. Wow. So I guess our ancestors will really see what, the age of Aquarius is going to bring.
Yeah. Maybe in 2,000 years
but it sounds like it's a good
we
age.
Get back to Capricorn
right?
again.
Technology, brotherhood.
We might as well operate from that perspective.
Yeah. Let's go with it.
All this is the dawning of the age.
I know that song. Dude.
All of that.
They're waiting for it. They're making songs, waiting for it, and it's for its arrival.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, I'm gonna play that.
We're here. Yeah,
that's awesome, dude. So, over the years, I mean, what can you recall? What's one of your favorite pieces you've made over the years? I mean, there's been so many, but was there one that stands out above all? I mean, there's so many that stand out for me.
Pick one, but like Megatron.
It's
been a lot of years, but Megatron I just got to reconnect with recently because I was able to get it in for the show. Mm-hmm. I had a 25-year anniversary show last fall.
Wow.
And so I was able to get this Megatron in, and I'd only seen it like once in the last 12 or 13 years.
Oh.
15. Yeah, about 12 years.
How big is it, would you say?
Yeah, probably. I think
18 inches, 20 inches, something.
Round in there. Yeah. 18, 20 probably. But
it's huge.
That one's still, it's probably my favorite.
That's great. Is that a torch tube too? Or
yeah.
no? That one's Will's torch.
Okay, sick. That has a cannon mounted on the shoulder.
And when did you start getting into the Devis?
The Devis, calling them Devis?
Or these meditating ladies?
Yeah,
Is that what the Devi is?
The meditating figure, the little Devis, which Devi is just like a word for goddess.
Okay.
It's from the Hindu culture. So there's Devas and Devis. And so Devi just means goddess. And so there's like Devis for flowers, Devis for water, lakes, rivers, all the things. Like, so that's, but I had been making I've been, using the female form and figure in all kinds of ways for a decade or more, but like Motorcycle Girls.
Oh yeah, that was an epic piece.
And then sort of my first influence that had me using kind of female figure-y things was like H.R. Giger. The alien artist.
Yeah, Alien.
One of my biggest heroes.
Have you been to the museum? Doesn't he have his own museum?
There's one
somewhere
over in Europe. That
in Europe.
Made it there, but
yeah.
So Giger, with that biomechanical female alien hybrid stuff, like machines and tubes and pistons and stuff. That was something I kind of started trying to mimic a little bit early on, and then that morphed into the Motorcycle Girls, and then further into sort of, just full maybe stand-up wigwag goddess with the wigwaggy mouth, and I was like,
oh yeah, those were so dope.
Fairy type looking things. All those were leading up, and then I came in with the robot stuff and was playing around with like Bumblebee and Megatron and Prime, and so that's working on this real architectural, technological type
Yeah, totally different than these flowing forms of your female figures. Kind of like.
And so they were.
Did you do that because you were kind of just wanting to push your limits and step out of the box, or did you like
do what?
Like go from like these female forms to like that mechanical like robot things?
It wasn't. It's never really been. I mean, for the most of my career. Most of that wasn't really that
sometimes when I do something so much, I just feel like, oh, I got to go do something else for a little bit. And it's like...
for the first like 12, 13 years of my career, I did that every week, you know? Like I would make some like traditional looking, you know, wigwag horns and cool looking bubbler. I'd be on that thing. And then like a couple weeks later, I'm making like a motorcycle girl with no reversals. So
that's some good balance.
But then I'm back over here exploring. You know, I never really... jumped on one thing and just did that forever until the Devis. And so by 2014, 15, I had done a lot of the kind of figurative, you know, figure work with, you know, bodies and machinery and sort of like whimsical stuff. And then I started getting on these like bigger ones, like Freya. There's one I made with Snick Barnes, and it's got like, it's sitting on some cat skulls. Which
that, and you got that bronze casted too, didn't you?
Yeah. My friend Brian.
Oh, that's cool. How did they do that? Did they have to? They take a wax mold around it? And
he wouldn't even believe it.
What was
He did it from photographs.
No way.
And I was exchanging with him constantly. And the artist who was rendering it, it's one of Brian's friends.
I want to put a B-roll of that.
Yeah, we'll get pictures of both. But
totally.
He had the whole thing specced out, and then when he started working on the actual Freya, the figure, the girl inside of the big throne thing, that was like my first meditating sitting figure.
Really?
With crossed legs. And the next one was a big one. I think was Isis Ina May, which is a big feathered winged one that I've also, you know, another one of my favorite big ones from back in the day. But like, I wasn't calling them Devis yet. And so then there was another one with Punti, Quetzalcoatl, La Madre de Quetzalcoatl. And that one was also this big animatronic, had a female in there, but also was wrapped in all kinds of mechanical stuff and had this sort of tribal shamanic flavor, right? And so, you know, those were happening. And then there was another red and black piece. We called it La Reina de Lagarto, the Queen of the Lizards, that Elbow and I made.
Oh, yeah, with the two dinos.
That's right. So epic. You can see again, there's like a big kind of female form. That was where I had gone with the female stuff. But then at the same time, I'm playing around with the Megatron and Bumblebee stuff just out of interest. Not because I was like trying to do something different, but just out of interest. You know, you just sort of things you think, oh,
were you into Transformers as a kid?
Child? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, me too. Look, I got my Bumblebee.
Oh, I've been admiring it. Yeah, that's very sweet.
That was dope.
I didn't know if you just brought it here so I'd feel comfortable. But
Kinda,
I do feel comfortable with it here.
He's our co-host for this show.
Yeah, but to get to the Devis and where that began, you know, right around then, WJC and Joey came over, Joe P. And actually, Joe and I had made a big bee, you know, goddess queen thing that also was just real organic-y, but it had my wigwaggy bee girl, had his combs and bees and that aesthetic.
On the throne?
Yeah.
That one's epic piece.
Right.
That was,
and so you can, I just, you know, all those pieces I just mentioned were sort of like where the culmination, you know, that's where my female form stuff had got to, and I was bringing in some mechanical stuff, and then basically I finally gave in to like the request to like make small pieces that would fit in a gun case and be carried around in sashes.
A little more ergonomical. So I
started thinking about that, and right around then is when, like I said, Joey P and Justin came over, WJC, and Justin had just got back from the Amazon on one of his shaman journeys.
No way.
The Aya journey.
Oh, cool.
And so he was like fully still in the Amazon.
Whoa.
When he showed up at my spot in the woods in Humboldt, you know, the mists coming in, it's all, you know,
tank
so
was
he shows
full,
up with Joe.
ready to create.
Yeah. And Joe is, you know, Joe's the most diverse guy, you know.
Yeah,
like he's
Joe's great.
Doing all kinds of millions of different ideas all the time, like twice as many as me and Mickelson put together. You know, Joey just seems like he can sculpt anything.
Very versatile.
Or at least him and Mickelson I put on the similar level of just whatever they feel like making, they'll make.
Yeah.
In this style or that way. Anyway, Justin and Joe came and we made this piece called Ayahuascara. And so it had like kind of a Shipibo design that Justin was drawing, and Shipibo inspired, you know, material, and he was putting it into the flips. And then Joey basically had he sculpted out these diamond shaped kind of wings and was calling these colors and stuff. And And then on my end, I was doing the figure, the girl in there, and she was kind of doing this thing. And, you know, so it was really psychedelic and really mechanical and really geekery and really, you know, shamanic, earth-based, tradition-y. I mean, it had all the different things.
That format, the everything about it, dude, the flow of it, they're so sick.
That one there was like, that's the one that kind of set the pattern, you know? And so not long after that, like I said, I heeded the advice, Elbow and all the guys were always like, man, Banjo, just make that thing small, make it small, and just make it have a couple of these cool new transparencies are coming out. And so that's when I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. And I just dove in and figured out the little Devis. And then just right after that, and called them Devis, and was like, all right, I'm going to commit to like this line of things that you can depend on. I'm going to keep developing them, and just here's my little thing. So that was really the first time in my whole career. This was 2015, 14. First time in my entire career that I actually found a thing that was like, oh, I'm just going to do this. And then people would ask for that. And then it just, you know how that goes. The next thing you know, you've done the same
collab
thing for like
format.
a decade.
You can switch it up with so many different themes. Like we're working on our giraffe one with acacia leaves, because
really
the giraffes
excited
need
about
that.
this one we're making, dude.
But yeah, that's so cool, dude. Yeah, that's really epic. Those things. It is harder to get things looking good smaller. Like smaller is baller in a lot of cases.
Right now, I'm actually on that challenge again. Like I've just recently been micronizing a whole nother scale. You know, when I think about how cool it was to go from like just making like 2 foot tall pieces that cost like this much. When I finally was like, okay, fine. I got over my ego about it, accepted, whatever. I'm going to go with the time. And when I pushed it down and compressed it into the little Devi, as we know, the little 2-colored,
I'm looking at one right behind you, and they're so sick, dude.
Like all of a sudden, I was able to like operate and make pieces for tons of people and get to know all kinds of people who would use them and smoke them. Because prior to that, all of those aforementioned pieces, that era was the pieces went to head shops here and there. We weren't really making pieces directly for people so much. And when the hash market and the hash movement really picked up, and all of a sudden, you know, the functionality of a glass piece really started mattering about then. Because to be honest, like
people are using them then.
These giant flower pieces we made. Nobody did. It just wasn't what the thing was. It was just an excuse to make art.
Yeah.
You know, so once the hash came in, then it was like, whoa, it's a legitimate function and legitimate art. So, you know, purposes. And if, you know, when I jumped into that realm, you know, little did I know that it would just be the thing I would be asked to do for the next
timing.
decade.
You were there, right moment, right time.
Well, it was late. I felt like I was late. I was like the last guy. I mean, not for me in my journey, but like everybody had a recycler. Everybody had a spinner by then.
Oh, really?
All of my friends and contemporaries had developed some amount of like a thing and had already been sort of adjusting to work with that new market as it was coming in, you know?
Wow.
And so I felt like I was kind of one of the last of my generation to do a recycler, but then shit, you know, it's like majority what I've done since then, you know, 10 years now.
That's crazy. I wonder what's next. You know how it's been changing. It's been at a 10 mil female for a long time right now. But I remember it kind of, it was like 19 backwards, this 18, like,
I know.
Let's go 5 mil for a minute. There's like a 5 mil, you know, hype.
Oh yeah.
But,
pendant rigs.
Oh yeah. Everything.
Those had to be 5.
I think we got silly for moments there.
Had to be 5.
I mean, we got out of control.
It's funny. It does always shift though. Like I was just, you know, where I started just explaining and then started rambling on. When I went from like a 1.5 foot, 2-footer down to this little 8-incher, I still could make big ones, but this opened up a new level where that could even support me being able to continue to make big ones and take the pressure off the sales on the big ones, you know? And so now, 10 years later, it's funny. I'm like, lately I've been making these tiny little 2-inch tall solid little Devis and making a whole, I mean, it's just as many moves. It's not as much glass, and it's kind of a pain in the ass to go that small to challenge. So I'm actually engaged right now, like, again, in a challenging way, trying to compress what I've gotten comfortable with in like the 7 or 8-inch, 10-inch at most.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Now I'm trying to go down to like 4
because
or
you
2,
have to lose a little detail in some regards, but you can still pack it in just a bit. Yeah, because you know you got to tone it down because it can lose it.
That's the line that makes it interesting.
It's a line. Yeah,
how much of it
because it looks like there's more, but even when you take it away because it's smaller, it almost looks more detailed. But you know, when I make it goes that small, you lose a little bit of detail.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, all the people that smoke weed out there, you know, how do we get these pieces in front of them? Because I'm sure they would want a sick piece, right? If you got money or do people just Are people unaware in those kind of circles? You know, is like Woody Harrelson know about heady rigs? Probably a little bit, but not like in.
They know it exists, but they haven't.
We're born on the same day too, me and Woody.
You and Woody? How cool.
Yeah, me and Woody Halassi.
Right on.
Selassie. The piece you made when I went to the class.
All three of you were cannabis advocates, if I'm not mistaken.
Whoa, is Haile Selassie cannabis advocate?
Wasn't he?
Oh, he started Rastafarian, right?
At least the Rastas look to him as like the prophet.
Yeah,
but
so that's cool.
I'm ashamed to say I don't actually know his stance on weed, if that was something he was already repping.
Maybe. I don't know.
You'd think it would be an ancient thing that would have been woven in the whole time. Cannabis, you know.
Probably. I mean, the Constitution was written on it. So
all that stuff. Yeah.
How do you like this? This was actually pretty damn good, dude. I'm pretty stony off of this.
It got me
I got pasties.
I keep forgetting to keep it lit.
I would check that out. WNC CBD, new sponsor of our podcast, but it's some.
We've been smoking it all week and it's
fire shit.
Totally enjoying it.
What do you think happens when you die?
Yeah, I think we're eternal. I think that the consciousness or the energy or the awareness that is in here underneath the thoughts. Like I'm saying things right now.
Bag bodies.
Yeah. We're what's aware of the meat bag. You know, like you hear these thoughts and then you say something. Like these thoughts and all this stuff is coming from the mind.
Yeah.
But we're the awareness that perceives that. Right? We're not the mind.
We're not just a brain in a jar.
No. How long can you go? Like right now, like how long can you go without internal dialogue?
Internal dialogue?
Yeah, like if you're just be quiet right now, how long can you go
and
before you hear words?
Not long. There's somebody in there. There's a few.
Right, there's a few.
There's a few people.
You know who you are?
And I talk to myself a lot.
Check it out. You're the one that hears it. It's talking to itself for all those different voices, but those are all parts of your mind that aren't you.
Interesting.
So what you are is what hears it. Subject, object. You can't be the same thing or you'd be schizophrenic. Like you are what hears those voices. And so sure, you can be like, start thinking about it. And even now, these thoughts that I'm talking about to you, they start as thoughts up here that I'm aware of. And then I direct my mind to like describe the thought, but still underneath it, there's a primal awareness. I'm a very skeptical observer, a curious observer, and a seeker of truth.
Yeah.
But I try and stay open to just hear all these things and, what's true is true, and it's the way it is regardless of whether I believe it or not. And so the more I feel like, the more I find I can step into the seat of awareness where I'm just, perceiving and watching things coming in.
You're being aware. You're seeking new information. You're not just saying, no, I know the answer. I'm open to it.
It's nice not to. I mean, we all do.
Yeah, if you think you do, it's a little bit kind of arrogant or something.
Certainty is the enemy of growth.
That's a good one.
Right? And
that's a great one.
And if you're growing your consciousness or awareness, your knowledge base, whatever it is, like as soon as you're like, yeah, this is how it is, that's a stopping point right there. And then you just aren't going to feel that.
You're always learning, and you got to be always growing and learning, dude. Yeah. And you never lose. You learn.
If you do it from the place of just curious observance, then all of these things come and go, and whatever's real stays here. And what we find, I think, is really real when we do that. Is just like love. Is the love and light.
If people made all their decisions with love first on their mind, the world would be a better place. And that's how I try and operate right now. Love,
our own inner world would be a better place to the extent we do.
Yeah, and that's what you got to start with, anyways. And if we all start with that, we're getting somewhere.
It's like matches catching fire. When one person is rooted and seated in their sense of well-being and truth and trust themselves.
Yeah, that shit's contagious too.
That reflects out, and all of a sudden you start trusting others in the same way you had to learn to trust yourself. But it's just a process, It's scary in this crazy old world, and we have to learn that it's safe here because
I know.
It's sort of like an animal instinct.
People don't know what to know
scared or
with
something.
Everything they're getting instantly on their phone. But hey, what do you say we get some work done, and maybe we do like an after dark edition, and we can kind of go down some of these rabbit holes for anyone interested. Let's do that, dude.
Woot woot.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you so much, dude. That's a nice introduction to Banjo. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks to our sponsors, Puffco and WNC CBD. Go check them out. You can use code STASH25 on their website for 25% off. And we're going to keep you guys posted on what we're making, and we'll see you later. Thank you, brother. Later. Peace.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Robertson Stash Podcast, brought to you by WNC CBD. If you want to support us, please hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want to hear from you. So if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to reach out. Hit the website, hit the link. We'll see you next time.